I used to think I could spot danger, that you'd just feel it when something wasn't right. A twitch, a strange vibe, something off in someone's eyes. I thought I was a good judge of character, but I was wrong, so wrong, and I learned that the hard way. It was 2001. I was 22 years old, working admin shifts at a private hospital just outside Staten Island, trying to pay my way through nursing school. It was a quiet place, not the kind of hospital you see on TV. No trauma bays, no emergency sirens, no life or death dramas. Mostly older patients, elective surgeries, rehab recoveries. The kind of place where the halls echo if someone drops a pen. I got used to the silence, the routines, the calm. And then there was him, Richard. He was already on staff when I started, mid-40s. Clean cut, always smelled like antiseptic and aftershave. Didn't say much, but he was always polite. The kind of guy you'd describe as nice if someone asked. Not warm, not cold, just neutral. He worked nights, always nights. Surgical recovery wing, long shifts, quiet hours. We only really crossed paths during late handovers. He'd nod, say the same thing every time. Evening, long night ahead. I'd nod back. He'd smile. That was it. Nothing strange, nothing creepy, just routine. But that's the thing about monsters. They don't always show their teeth. One night, I stayed behind to cover a few hours for a colleague who called in sick. It was one of those nights where everything felt too quiet. No TVs, no buzzers, just the hum of the vending machine and the occasional squeak of rubber soles on linoleum. I remember walking past the supply closet at the far end of the recovery hall. The door was slightly open. Nothing unusual. Probably just left ajar by someone in a rush. I pushed it shut, and as I turned to walk away, Richard was right there, just a few feet behind me. I hadn't heard him approach. No footsteps, no sound. He looked straight at the closet and said, "Forgot something." I gave a nervous laugh. Didn't mean to interrupt. He didn't laugh, didn't even look at me, just stared at the door for a few seconds, then walked off. I brushed it off, but it stayed in my head. A few days later, a patient went missing, an elderly man. He was due to be discharged that morning. He'd had breakfast, chatted with a nurse, then decided to go for a walk around the grounds. He never came back. We searched everywhere. Parking lots, stairwells, maintenance closets. CCTV showed him exiting through a side door around 5 in the morning. The police said he probably wandered off. Maybe he got confused. Maybe a medical episode. Everyone hoped he'd turn up in a park or a bus shelter. He didn't. A jogger found his body a week later, floating in the river, wrapped in bin bags, dismembered. The news ran with it for days. The hospital stayed quiet, tried to keep things internal. The police, no suspects, no motive, no idea. Then it happened again. Another hospital, another missing patient. Same outcome, clean cuts, wrapped neatly, left to be found. It wasn't random, it was practiced, surgical. That's when I started to feel sick. I kept thinking back to the supply closet, to Richard standing behind me, to how calm he always was. Too calm. I started noticing things. He never parked in the staff lot, even when there were open spaces. He didn't keep photos on his ID lanyard like most staff. No family, no pets, nothing. Once, I saw him wiping down a gurney that hadn't been used that day, scrubbing it, polishing the wheels, even cleaning the underside. I asked him what he was doing. He said, "Best to keep things clean. You never know what might stick." I tried to convince myself I was overthinking, that I was tired, that working nights makes you paranoid. But I couldn't shake it. I started looking things up late at night. Unsolved cases, dismemberments, anything that sounded familiar. Then I found it. An article from 1993, New Jersey. A series of killings, all with the same pattern. Men targeted late at night. Found days later, wrapped, dissected and dumped. No signs of a struggle. No blood at the scene. They called him the last call killer because he'd find his victims just after bars closed, when they were alone, vulnerable. The details matched exactly. But after 1993, the killer disappeared, vanished without a trace. I sat there, staring at the screen and thought, what if he didn't stop? What if he just moved? A few nights later, I stayed late again. I walked past the same supply closet. The door was slightly ajar. This time, I opened it. No blood, no body. But behind the cleaning supplies, hidden in the back, I found neatly stacked surgical kits. Gloves, gauze, scalpels, syringes. Not hospital issued. They were personal. Each kit was marked with the same initials. R.R. Richard Rogers. I didn't touch anything else. I closed the door, walked out like nothing happened. The next day, I called in sick, and then I called the police. At first, they didn't take me seriously. No body, no crime. But a few days later, another corpse turned up. Same method, same signature. Now they were listening. The investigation started quietly. Internal. Careful. And I wasn't the only one who'd noticed strange things. Other nurses came forward. Equipment that went missing. Night shifts that didn't line up. Supplies logged out but never returned. They arrested Richard 3 weeks later. At his home. He didn't resist, didn't say a word. Inside his house, they found surgical tools, photographs, a notebook, coded entries, dates, initials, locations. He had documented everything. Every victim, every kill. His name was Richard Rogers. And yes, he was the last call killer. After the arrest, I took time off. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't work. Every hallway felt like a threat. Every quiet voice felt like a lie. Because here's what no one tells you. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they're the ones folding towels, sharpening scalpels, saying goodnight like they mean it. Sometimes they wear scrubs. But I wasn't done. I needed answers. I dug into court documents, newspaper archives, medical records, old police files. Turns out Richard wasn't even from Staten Island. He was born in Maine, 1950s, raised in a strict religious home, perfect on paper, good grades, polite, clean record. But even then, something was off. In the 70s, during nursing school, his roommate died under strange circumstances. No official cause released. Rumors of a fight. Richard was questioned, then let go. No charges. A few years later, he was accused of assault by a colleague. Again, no charges. But he left the state soon after. Then came the drifting. Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Always working in hospitals. Always at night. Always disappearing when things got uncomfortable. And then, in the early 90s, the killings began. The police believe he chose victims who wouldn't be missed straight away. Lonely men, late at night, people slipping through the cracks. He didn't beat them, didn't torture them. He dissected them, cleanly, deliberately, almost like it was routine. Afterwards, he'd clean the remains, wrap them, position them to be found, as if being discovered was part of the ritual. But in 1993, after the heat turned up, he vanished and reappeared at our hospital nearly a decade later. Same calm tone, same steady hands, same horrifying precision. What still gets to me isn't just what he did, it's how normal he was. I'd walk past him every day. He was just there, filling out charts, prepping IVs, checking vitals. He wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was right in the middle of everything, smiling, working, waiting. Years later, I found out about his coded notebook. It wasn't just a list. Some entries had little smiley faces next to the dates. Others had words like "too easy" or "watched me." Some were just X's. No explanation, no names. It made me sick. He wasn't just killing to silence. He was doing it for control. And here's the part that will haunt me forever. People noticed. Hospitals filed complaints. Staff said he lingered near morgues, that he cleaned surgical tools obsessively when no one else was around, that he'd request to be alone. A lot. But no one connected the dots. because he moved just fast enough, just quietly enough, until he got comfortable again, until he started again. Sometimes I think about that closet, about those surgical kits, about what would have happened if I'd walked away. If I'd said nothing, how many more? He could have kept going, easily, because the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones you see coming. They're the ones standing next to you, smiling.